a pleasure and privilege to present him for this talk that we're going to have. Professor Castrillón is a social communicator, journalist with studies in English teacher and a master's in second language learning and teaching processes. And he's currently developing his doctoral studies. Professor Edison, welcome to your presentation.
Professor Pedraza, it's a pleasure for me. Thank you so much for everybody attend this call. Today we are going to discuss a little while about that concept that we all the time have in mind, that is critical, that we determine, and it is critical reading, and also our field, that is English learning. For today, I have a short presentation. We are going to have more or less 45 minutes for discussing and sharing those ideas. And also at the final of the presentation, we are going to have a section for answering any question that you have. So I really want to know if you could attend my screen.
Yes, Professor, it's perfect. Go on.
Thank you so much. Well, as Professor Pedraza said, I am Edison Castrillón. I am currently working at Luis Amigó University, and it's a pleasure for me also share with you these ideas, because it's something that I really love, talking about reading and writing processes, and this is literacy processes, and of course, critical literacy. That is something that calls our attention a lot as English teachers. So for today, before starting this presentation, I really want to call your attention by making a kind of expression, yeah, for continuing working with the rise, the possibilities for women specifically act in our world in a very free way, with freedom and of course with empowerment. Nowadays we are facing difficult situations, of course not just women, but for this presentation I really want to do that introduction and call specifically for women. Yes, because also we as human beings, we have the possibility, and we have the capacity, and all of us need to be engaged in educational processes. And it is a duty for all of us to be engaged in educational processes, and all people needs to be engaged on it. Well, that is our topic for today. I really want to ask you, you could turn on your microphones before studying. I really want to know for you, what is critical reading? Yes, what is critical reading? And I really appreciate if you could turn on your microphone and start talking a little while about this interesting concept that we are going to discuss today. Who wants to
Teacher, excuse me, before we continue, they're having difficulties with the link of the assistant of the event. I don't know, they're reporting in the chat that there's been like a difficulty when they open the link.
Yeah, I already talked to the administration in order to have the problem fixed.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Sorry, Mr. Castrillón.
Don't worry, Mrs. Restrepo. So, guys, what is critical reading? What do you consider is critical reading? Who wants to participate? Bring a comment? Yes? Some of you? Also, you could write on the chat if you have any perception about. Carolina Mesa, go ahead.
Good morning. Okay, I think critical reading is one way to catch the information about the reading and just search things in the structure, in the grammatical way, in the general idea of the reading, and just think more about the reading, not just the words that are in the in the reading part.
In the test, yes, on the test. Okay, Carolina, thank you so much for your appreciation, thank you. Okay, let's go with Santiago Arcila and then Maria Camila Palacio. Santiago.
Teacher, how are you? Hello, everyone.
Hello, Santi.
I consider that critical reading is a way to understand something that during the process, a learning process, we gather that information for making our own statement and to win a known purpose. I forget the word. Is like an own perspective, but a posture, your own posture, yeah?
Yes.
Maybe from an article or maybe from a research, and you learn it, but you try to organize and identify the things that the author is saying, but from your critical perspective.
Thank you so much, Santiago. I really appreciate your comment. So, who's the next? Is a girl?
Yeah, it's me. Hi.
Maria Camila. Hello, Maria.
Yeah. I will say that critical readings means like the way that or what we do to understand what we're reading, like maybe what process or what we use in a way to understand better or have more comprehension, or maybe, I don't know, to have more clarity about what we're trying to read. And I think it's like the way we or what we use to read in a way, yeah, to understand, and maybe the questions we make ourselves to understand better.
Yeah, the sense. Yeah, I really appreciate that comment too, Maria Camila. And we are going to finish with Catherine Cáceres.
Yes, teacher. Hello.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Critical reading for me is a process of analyzing, interpreting, and sometimes evaluating. When we read critically, we use our critical thinking skills to question both the text and our reading for it.
Okay, Catherine, thank you so much for your comments. Yeah, I really appreciate because you have a very good background about what critical reading is. And of course, I appreciate those comments about, okay, critical literacy or critical reading is thinking beyond the letters, that the first participant said that. Also, you said critical reading is what we do with reading. It's amazing, excellent. And of course, I totally agree with Catherine when she said it's a process of analyzing and evaluating, yeah, the reading, the practices. Well, I totally agree with you. I bring here some ideas about El Hindi and Flavio in 1993, who describes that critical reading involves a metacognitive aspect that engaged the readers in conversation with the text. So making a stop here, critical reading is making a conversation with a text, and for making a conversation, we need to be aware that the text also is speaking with us, and we are speaking or we are communicating with the text. It's a process. It's a metacognitive process that we have all the time with the text. The text also has a lot of ideas for communicating, and in that way, we need to be engaged with the text. The reader, be careful here, the reader talks to the book, asks questions, makes predictions, forms connections with prior knowledge and experiences, deconstructs assumptions, read the silence, very good, read the silence, construct new knowledge. So reading critically, it is not just decoding or encoding the word. It is a metacognitive process, but also goes beyond what we could find behind the letters. That is reading specifically. So in that way, guys, in that way, it's very important to recognize that this is a communicative process that we have all the time. We have all the time. So in other words, we need to be aware that making critical reading also has some stages, because we need to identify what is critical reading, but also how could we promote critical reading and what kind of instruments, dates, what kind of resources we could involve for reading in a critical way. So today, specifically, we are going to be focused on 3 specific steps. The first one, in the first time, we are going to reflect about what is critical reading. Yeah, WH question to go beyond the test, as as you said, going beyond the test. That is something very special, guys, to identify what is behind, what is the intention, what is the power, what is the ideology, what is the target public that we are going to impact or affect with the test. In a second moment, we are going to identify modes to read, and we are going to try to discuss a little while about what is multimodality. What is that concept about? Yes, how could we use different modes of test for communicating? Because here we need to be aware, not just from those letters we communicate, also our expressions about different images, sounds, videos. Yes, those multimodal tests that help us, even in some cases, to understand in a better way the main idea of the test. And we are going to finish proposing some learning strategies. Yes, learning English through critical reading. And this is some strategies that I really want to give you in this moment. So that is the 3 steps that we are going to discuss today. At the final of the presentation, we are going to have a moment for discussing questions. Elizabeth.
Qué pena, te interrumpo. ¿Soy yo o se te está bajando el volumen?
I don't know.
Sí, se bajó ahí el volumen.
¿Se bajó, cierto?
Sí, por un momento.
¿Y ya me están escuchando bien?
Sí, ya sí,
se
ya
escucha
sí.
bien.
Yes, teacher, go on.
Bueno, perfecto. Ok. Agradezco enormemente que me estén mirando y dando las sugerencias. Perfect. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Okay. So, guys, but did you understand what are we going to present during this presentation, guys? Is it okay?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Well, when we talk about how could we reflect on critical reading, we need to have some questions to go beyond the test. And one of the questions that I present to you guys is this one. Where and when was the test writing? Maybe before we start writing a test, we are aware and we could identify maybe the scenario, the time, yes, what was the situation, the context when the test was written. So that is my invitation, because it is not just a process of decoding. No, It is a process when we need to identify what was the reality that the test has. Why was it writing? Yes, why? Why? To identify those reasons that help us to recognize that maybe the test has a specific intention, ideology. So we write, of course, because we have an intention. Yes, we have an idea to communicate. So while we start the process of reading, we need to identify those specific things. Why this test was writing? What is the test about? What is the concept, the context, the ideas? Those kind of questions help us to make a guideline of the conversation with the test. Remember, reading or critical reading is a conversation with the test. And when we make conversations with a person, immediately we are asking questions and receiving questions. Yes, so that is a conversation. Being a critical reader is being a person who makes questions with the test. Imagine that the writer, make questions to you at that time. Who is the test addressed to? Who are its probable readers? Not all the tests are focused on all the people. Maybe you said, no, this test is focused on people marginalized with this problematic, and my intention is to be or to engage teachers to reflect on this process. Those kind of things help us a lot with this to recognize this specific problematic. Also, how is the topic developed? We could analyze here maybe the structure. How the writer presents the information. What are other ways of writing about the topic? Look, something regarding to multimodality. What are the other ways or possible ways of writing about the topic? Because most of the time, we as teacher, we ask you, for example, yes, let's read this test, but also let's make a video. Try for identifying your understanding. Or maybe we could say to you, okay, let's read the test, but let's make a conference. Let's make a podcast. Yeah, something like that. Different ways of presenting the same information, but in a different format. And in that way, we could guarantee to different people access to the information. Because if you are a blind person, maybe if you listen a podcast, you are receiving the information. So different strategies in terms of accessing to the information. Does the test producer establish an interactive, friendly relationship with the reader? Or is she or he distant, formal, and impersonal? So what is the kind of interaction that we as readers identify in the test? Or maybe when we are writers, what is the intention that I want to implement in my test? And something for considering here, guys, what is the generic structure of the test? That is in terms of the structure. In this one, also, what interdiscursive elements are there? What kind of elements? Pictures, images, links. Yeah, what kind of elements the test has for being or for engaging the people, for example, or the readers. And some of the most important questions for me in this moment, guys, this one. who is include or exclude in the test. And pay attention here because we have a lot of misunderstanding about different tests. And maybe for making here a parenthesis, a test is not just, as we discussed, it's not just letter, it's not just puertas. No, it is a meaning. Even when we are making critical reading, is a process for creating meaning of the test. This image gives us a definition about this problematic today. For example, México abrirá sus puertas a refugiados y afganos. And look the picture. If you want to speak in Spanish for making this clarification, what do you understand with this title, but also with this picture? What do you understand, guys? ¿Qué creen ustedes que pasa ahí?
That every Afghan is a terrorist.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Professor. Of course, look, the picture, and even the picture sometimes talks more than the title. And this is something that happens a lot when we are reading or when we are promoting critical reading with our students. Guys, critical reading is identifying those concepts, is thinking twice, is reflecting, is discerning. As some of you said, is evaluating the information, is questioning the information. Because decoding is just a process, but this image gave us more and more meaning of the test. Remember. Yes, Sergio.
Edison, can we say that critical reading is also evaluating or assessing those relations of power within the text?
No, not just that. It is I could say, Professor Pedraza, that this is a process of communication, as I already said. And during that communication, we could analyze different power issues, ideologies, and maybe critical reading is having that metacognitive skill for identifying maybe the issue of power, maybe the ideology, maybe the intention, the excluded person, as I already said, maybe what is the test talking about, what is the scenario, what is the time, yes, those kind of processes where we could reflect and analyze the information. Yes? Daniela Furonda.
Hello, teacher.
Hello, Dani.
So the critical reading, it's about the consequence about a situation, maybe, or not.
Yeah, Daniela, of course, this is a consequence. And I'm going to complement your question with something, because all the test has a consequence, has an impact. When you write and you spread that information, of course, people who read have a consequence of the test and a result with the test. I'm going to continue here with something. Let's pay attention to this, because this is the dangerous when we don't apply critical reading. Pay attention. This is the meme, and maybe for some people, yeah, it's something for laughing and something here. But this is the meme for today. Look, le limpio el parabrisas. Sí, gracias. Look. And look, this. Tome estos 10,000 pesitos que me sobran. And this is a test. Recuerden, chicos y chicas, el texto no es solamente esto que dice parabrisas. El texto es una imagen, el texto es un sonido, el texto es un graffiti, el texto es un podcast, el texto es, y ahorita vamos a hablar de eso en el multimodal. But look at this specific picture. Imagine, guys, it's a diary. Yeah, I totally agree with you, laugh. And that is not a discussion for today. The discussion is, oh, teacher, tan anti-chévere. No, that is not the discussion. What is the consequence? Because Daniela, you said, what is the consequences that the test is giving us or is promoting among a society? And as Professor Pedraza said, yes, I have the responsibility because I have the ability of writing and reading. Yes, I could promote, and thanks to the internet connections in those networks, we could spread a lot of information in different formats. But what is my consequence for spreading that specific information? When I promote this kind of test in a social media, what do I want to promote? I am aware that I am promoting that maybe we believe that of Afghanistan people are terrorists, because maybe in an aware way, we are promoting that. In most of the time, we promote different kind of tests, but we are not aware about the consequences. Critical reading is having an aware and about what are the consequences of the test. That is the specific things. Yes. And for giving for giving your participants your participation, guys, again, I'm going to show you something like this one. It is not just for Afghanistan people. I found this. En Australia calificaron de cocainómanos a jugadores colombianos. And look the picture that what's around surrounding the social media. So when we promote, do we like this information about Colombian people? So why do we promote this information? So that is the question. Yes, that is the question.
Teacher.
Yes, Santiago.
Sometimes because it's not, no, I would say it's not our context, and sometimes I don't care, because even in our context, we don't care what is happening sometimes. On the breaking news on the communicative channel, sometimes don't show the reality on what is happening in the world.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, but maybe when we promote or when we found these specific images and memes, yeah, memes in social media, maybe what is our perception? I don't, excuse me, but I don't want to be compared with this image. So that maybe we need to identify the limits of respect, social comprehension, social equality. I don't know, but there are a lot of reflections here for discussing. Professor Pedraza.
With the previous image that you were showing, Edison, I have, no, the one with the limpiorezas, exactly, yes. I understand that we're talking about the reading the image, right? I mean,
yeah.
The critical reading of the image, but what about the critical writing of this image? I mean, you can easily see that the irony is present. So we also need to make our students aware that not everything they read, it needs to be in the context that is presented, that there is irony, that there is comedy, that there is sarcasm, other things that enrich this critical aspect of reading.
Yes, yeah. That's why, Professor, we need to identify One, as I told you, the context. Second, the intention. Maybe, but being aware what is the context in the test to exclude or include. Because also, yeah, maybe for reading, we need to write. That's why we need literacy processes, because literacy is that processes or effect of reading and writing. Literacy is a consequence of the reading and the writing processes.
Yes,
It's an effect.
I'm making this comment because some of my, or most of my students of Discurso Académico are present here. And basically, Discurso Académico is the writing part, or the heavy part of the course is the writing part. So I wanted them to look at or to be aware that we need to be very conscious of what we are writing, so the information is not taken out of context. So that is why the writing process is so important, that we are actually saying and meaning what we want to say and mean.
Sure, Professor Pedraza. Thank you so much for that contribution, guys. And as I told you, we have the power of writing, but maybe, are we prepared for facing the consequences of writing? Because it's a process. And there are a lot of people that they cannot imagine the consequences of recording a video, recording an audio, doing a lot of things. Yes, doing a lot of things. And that's why we need to be aware about the consequences of the writing and of course the reading, because we need to have a skill for discerning the information. Yeah, we could analyze the context. We could analyze the context and we could recognize that this is a joke, maybe but maybe for a person, yeah, in an aware way, you are also promoting something behind the test, even behind the image. Yes, and here, it is the same situation. It was something that circulated in Australia. It was the same for us. So there are a lot of things for recognizing here inside the test. So for continuing here, I could also say that critical reading is also having the capacity to identify the ideology of the test and its power. After this process, we could empower ourselves by transforming and interrogating our practices and perceptions. You could read whatever you want. Yes, it doesn't matter. But baby, I am empowered ourselves. Maybe I have that capacity of questioning, of reflecting, even transforming and interrogating those practices and perceptions. So what is the meaning that I want to do to that specific images or to that specific test? Because that is the intention and that is our goal, guys. We as English teachers, we need to be aware that maybe we could promote different multimodal tests. And we are going to discuss a little while about multimodality. But maybe, yeah, what are the consequences? Are our students prepared for facing those images? How are going to face those phenomena? Yes. So in this second idea, guys, in this second moment, let's talk a little while about that multimodality. So for summarizing until here, those critical reading is making a communication process where we receive information, we spread information, we have the capacity of receiving and spreading a lot of information, but we need to recognize different questions, those WH questions that we were. And as Professor Pedraza said, also is our responsibility to identify the intention of the test. What are we going to do with the test? Some of you said, critical reading is what we do with the reading. What we do with the reading, what is the intention for it? Yes. And in this way, guys, we said that this reading could be promoted from different modes. For example, speech, gestures, music, okay, writing tests, images, gestures, speech, moving images, 3D object. Okay, there are a lot of modes to promote that meaning. And Crest, specifically 2010, he said, mood is a socially shaped and culturally given semiotic resource for making meaning. And that is something that calls my attention because every single test, image, writing, law, music, gesture, has a meaning. And there are a lot of moods for promoting that meaning. Yes. So what is multimodality? He also said that multimodality is a new developing subfield of communication studies which looks beyond languages to the multiple modes of communication or making meaning from images, sounds, gesture, and music. This is a way of communicating because we are transmitting. Sorry?
Profe, es que se te está yendo a veces el volumen. Aquí se te acabó de ir.
En este momento me está escuchando bien.
Se
No.
va y vuelve y sube y vuelve y se va y vuelve y sube.
Teacher, de pronto es porque te estás alejando del micrófono o algo de la pantalla.
Ahí me están escuchando bien.
Ahí sí, profe.
Ah, bueno, yo creo que, bueno, voy a mirar. ¿Hasta dónde me escucharon? Qué pena. ¿Hasta dónde me escucharon bien, chicos?
Sigue la otra.
Ok, ¿hasta acá?
Ajá, ahí, there. Begin again. There.
Okay, guys. Well, for making a summary here, multimodality is a way of or a way of communicating a message for creating meaning, but also we used different moods like radio, like sound, images, gestures, music. Yeah, that meaning could be promoted from different ways. For example, here, this is a test. And maybe we could identify here history, a test, maybe some population, and a scenario, the intention. Yes, we could identify here a lot of meaning. And this is not a letter. Yeah, this is a picture. Yes, with images that promote something. That is what our first way, maybe, of writing test. Yes, also, this is a test. And with this test, we could analyze a lot of things. Exclusion, repression, yes. A lot of phenomena. For me, it's something hard to face this reality, just because remember the first slide that I present to you, in terms, because I don't conceive this exclusion system. Also, this is a test with a lot of meaning. And I found this information on the net, but I'm sure that maybe it is not a real image, or maybe, I don't know, but no. Yes, I'm hate. Look the contest. Also, this is a test. Even the...
Profe, ahí por ejemplo se te bajó el volumen otra vez.
And can you hear me well?
Better.
Okay, I'm going to try to be here in close to the presentation, but I maybe have a solution to that. Give me a while, please. Just give me a while. Can you hear me now? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to try to speak louder for being for having a very good presentation. So this is also a test. This is also something that promotes meaning. And guys, this is also a test. So let's pay attention. All of these ways of promoting meaning are tests. Podcasts are tests. Videos are tests. Tests that we normally know are tests. Yes, so there are different ways of promoting that meaning. A test is something that promotes a meaning. And there are different ways of promoting that meaning. And it is called multimodality. Yes? So I have some reflections to you guys, because some ideas, for example, about CREST and Barney 2010, CREST 1988 and Barney 2010, they said, there is not monomodal test. They are all multimodal. Todos los textos son, y voy a decir esto en español. El mero hecho de yo encontrar en un texto la forma en cómo está estructurada la información, el color de la letra, los títulos, los espacios, los puntos, los silencios, todo son textos multimodales. There is not a way to say that there is monomodal test. All the tests, according to Crest and Barney, are multimodal tests because all of them promote meaning and also has different strategies, resources for promoting that meaning. Second, the colors, the font, the style, the shape allows to read a text. So those are tests. And also multimodality is understanding how meaning is constructed. Yes, in those tests, the memes, the publications, the tests, the comments, the tweets are multimodal tests. What is our responsibility? That is here our third point as English teacher. What is our responsibility? To be aware, to question the information, to know the effects of the information, to understand, even if we receive an image, what is the meaning of that specific image? Who is excluded or included in the test? And sorry for this repetition, but it's very important that we as English teachers start promoting these kind of strategies inside our classrooms with our students, because it is not just a process for reading the word. It's going beyond the words, as Daniel Casani said. It's reading behind the test. Yes, reading the test, reading between the test and reading behind the test. Critical reading is reading behind the test and identifying those ideologies, power, excluded, injustices, opportunities, why not? Opportunities, and a lot of things that happen beyond the test. So how to promote meaning, in critical reading in English learning? First, as I said, reading is necessary to read beyond decoding the graphemes. Necessary, guys. Yes. Also, it's very important to explore other types of reading, videos, sounds, infographic, etc. And let's reflect about something. Maybe you in your classroom, you have a lot of students, but they are not maybe experts reading the reading test. Yeah, decoding those tests. Why don't we try another kind of test? Maybe The Little Princess is difficult for reading in class, but if we apply a video or an infographic, or maybe a description or a sound, an audiobook, maybe it could be better for the understanding and for creating that meaning. So our invitation is trying to explore different formats and modes of communicating the information to generate meaning, and of course, to have critical reading. That is one of the invitations. Let's explore other modes of promoting test. Second, reading from the reality. And here, when we said reading from the reality, is also reading from the students' perceptions, the school reality, maybe having into account who is excluded or who is include. Maybe if I promote that test, what are the consequences? So try to be aware that we have a responsibility when we spread a test. The test is mine, and I need to be aware that the consequences that those tests have in the environment, in the reality, are my consequences too. Yes? Considering the questions for guiding the reading. All the time, we need to do questions, and this is a communicative process. Remember, imagine that you are here reading, but in this moment, Juliana Avila and Jessica Pandia is speaking with me. They are here in the test. Their thoughts are here in the test. And if I have some questions, I need to look for other sources in other specific, even sometimes we have the capacity of asking questions to the same author, to the same writer for making those clarifications. So they are here inside the test. Try to make those questions. English learning is not just the linguistic aspect. Yes? English learning is not just recognizing, oh yeah, I speak English. Yeah, but maybe that is another discussion, but why or how are you using the English language? What for? What is the reason for? Yes? So that is everything until here, guys. Yeah, it was 5 minutes more, but maybe it's the possibility of asking question. If you have any question, any recommendation, yes, I'm here for receiving all your comments. And I really hope this short discussion help you to reflect and being aware about the test we are creating and the test we are reading, of course. Thank you so much. Any question until here, guys?
Teacher, no, it's not a question. It's just that in the chat, we just put the link of the encuesta de satisfacción so they can evaluate this lecture, this time that you share with us. So it's an invitation for everybody to please get in there and fill in this link that we need for them to evaluate this part of our process. Teacher Edison, thank you very much for being with us today. And guys, go on. And
My pleasure, Professor.
Ask our teachers about things that maybe you didn't understand, or things that maybe you have seen in your class, or things that you want him to help you with.
Or maybe from your experience.
I have a question, Edison.
Yeah. Of course, Professor Pedraza.
How important it's my cultural background, my general knowledge, mi sentido común, let's say, when we are critically approaching a text. I mean, I ask this question because sometimes the way that you can critically criticize a text, or you can critically approach a text, depends a lot on how much you know about what is being written or what is being read. So if we could give it a 1 to 10 on how important all that baggage, that knowledge that we have as a background is important, how much would you give it a score?
No, for me it's 10. Of course, it's 10, Professor, because we need to recognize that we are social beings. And in that way, we have some beliefs, we have some acts, some behaviors, and that kind of things help us to be human beings. So in that way, when we read a text, that's why we are exploring even the perception of the reader, of the writer, sorry, the perception of the writer. But we as reader, we need to agree or disagree with the text according to our perceptions, according to our experiences, according to our social backgrounds, according to our beliefs. Yes, and that is something that we need to consider at the time of reading, that we also have a background, we also have some thoughts, and we need to look for scenarios where we start discussing and maybe trying to have different moments for making agreement or disagreement. But it depends about our background, of course. We are human beings and we read with our perceptions and ideologies. That's why when we are reading, we determine that we feel excluded or included. Yes, that is something that, of course, even Paulo Freire said, and he said, it is impossible to teach someone without having into account their background, their context, their realities, their lives, their literacy practices, childhood practices, for example. Because we are here for continuing creating knowledge throughout the discussions and throughout these specific events. For example, having here these kind of discussions is a moment also for having here your opinion. Said, teacher, I think you are wrong. Yeah, of course, not just saying just because. Now, if you noticed that I am wrong, it is because maybe you are going to share with me the reasons why I'm wrong. Because that is something also, Professor, that we confused. What is critical reading? Critical reading is not just criticizing the information. No, it is because I don't agree. That's it. No, oh my goodness, that person is so critical because all the time is making disagreement with the professor or with the students or with the people. Oh, when we are critical, it is because we recognized the information, we know the information, and then we said, I don't agree. And also you proposed the reasons why you are not agree. That's it. If you are considered by yourself a critical person just because you disagree everything and just because you like to be I don't know, facing the realities just because, guys, that is not a reason. Being critical is also recognizing the information, is being aware about the facts, is being aware about the consequences, And it is a position, a political position when you said, I disagree, but you also express the reasons why you disagree. That is the reason for it. Thank you so much, Professor, for your.
There are two quotes from Umberto Eco that I always try to give my students when they are working on the writing process. The first one is, no es textual, pero es algo como el texto deja de ser mío, tan pronto lo termino de escribir y empieza a pertenecerle al lector. So that is one thing that we as writers need to take a lot into account, that once something is published, and when I say published, I don't mean printed, I mean out in the open, the text must defend itself. I mean, I'm not going to be there to pamper my text, so it needs to talk by itself. And the other quote that I always use, and this also applies to reading, also for Umberto Eco, is something like, every sentence in a text must have its own meaning regarding the context. And this is very important. I mean, the problem sometimes is I'm taking out of context. If you were taken out of context, it's because you didn't produce the information correctly. Otherwise, you will always be in context. So every sentence must have meaning in itself. The same applies when you're reading critically. You need to understand not only the context, but that each sentence carries a meaning. The author is saying an idea in every sentence.
Yes, and also bringing here Umberto Eco, yes, those those ideas are brilliant. Thank you so much, Professor Pedraza.
No problem.
Yeah. Daniela Foronda.
Teacher.
Hello, Danny. You raise your hand? Yes.
Hello, teacher. Yes, I would like thank you because this is really important for the society know, for the humanity know, because if you have a critical reading, it will be better for the stereotypes or for the discriminate, and this support the problem social. It's better and maybe will help social problems. So thank you so much.
No, Danny, thank you. No, my pleasure. I'm here just for discussing to you and even using our English language. And we recognize that this is a practice for discussing, for doing an academic process and interacting. And this is a place for you. It's a place for discussing and for understanding and trying to recognize what are the consequences of our reading and our writing too, because we could not separate reading or writing. No, even that's why we talk about literacy, critical literacy, because it goes together. And that is something that calls my attention a lot. I really appreciate. And something when you talk about those stereotypes, it is a way for contrasting that information. When we read and write critically, when we apply critical reading and critical writing, also we are aware about those stereotypes. We don't need to continue promoting, those stereotypes. And that is great. That is great. Okay, David.
Hi, teacher.
Okay. Hello.
Teacher, I only want to say that according to Daniela and the image that you put in your presentation, I would like to say that is so important the context and the culture in the social media about for example, this kind of memes. Because, for example, a lot of people that do this kind of memes, and when we are learning, we know that kind of people don't even know where is Colombia. So it's like if you have the context, if you have the story, you can say that you have a lot of social issues that I can talk about you. So it's like, I don't know, the problem with the social media is that we can say what we, I don't know,
What we want.
all that we think
Yes,
in social
yes.
media. So
We have the freedom.
yes. So it's, for example, if they compare or if they are talking about drugs only because we are from Colombia, it's like, for example, in USA, you have a lot of social issues in the school. The school shootings are a real problem. The drugs and also the, I don't know, for example, the last years with Black Lives Matter. It's like you have a lot of issues and you need to understand that we are not in that time of Pablo Escobar and we have other problems that we need to talk about it. And it's all.
Yeah, David. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your comment when you, Professor Pedraza, if you want, you could.
No, I disagree with the student.
Yes.
I think that I really think that those memes are deserved to Colombians, shamefully deserved by Colombians. If you have the opportunity to watch news or the news channels outside, actually those are shameful news that make headlines in the world. Vicepresidenta tiene hermano narcotraficante, famosa cómica colombiana, esposo narcotraficante. And that's exactly the problem. We, talking about politics for a minute, we are not critical enough to vote for the right people. That's why sometimes these memes actually depict not who we are, but who we select to be our faces outside of our country. I hope that everything would be like Chechi Baena, everything would be like la chica del BMX o la saltadora, no recuerdo los nombres en este momento, but shamefully not, those are not our faces abroad. Our faces abroad are people who still identify themselves with Pablo Escobar. And you can see that in every taxi cab in Medellin. People who still think that the only way out is drug trafficking or terrorism. And that is exactly what people are showing outside of our country. I would really love that all these comments that this is not who we are, this is not what characterizes us, we are different, that we will be able to show that outside, that we will be able to show that abroad, but we don't. What we show, it's every time more negative than the previous one. So yes, I think we deserve those comments, but we need to open our eyes and start showing, we who are getting educated, we who are becoming the next generation teachers are the ones who have to show the world that we are not like this.
Yeah, and something for complementing Professor Pedraza, look, the series from Caracol and RCN, you know?
Toda la narcotelevisión del momento.
Yeah, the narco television. Yes, it's difficult to contrast that reality. For example, in this moment, I have the capacity, I have the honor of being studying in Brazil this moment. And as you said, people still ask you about those specific things. Yeah, it is true. Yeah, please talk about Pablo Escobar. Please talk about, even, do you live in Medellin? Yes, Medellin is the place where Pablo Escobar was living. Yes, my goodness, yes. But we need to start, creating those practices, maybe to contrast the reality. For example, inside my doctoral program, my research proposal is the resistance narratives. That is the topic of my research proposal, is resistance narratives to promote critical digital literacy with reservist teachers. Yes. And what is those resistance narratives? Maybe you are Colombian, a Colombian person. So what do you want to talk? What do you want to contrast? What do you want to offer to question that information, to interrogate that information? So that is an scenario. It's an scenario that I am going to offer to the gays, to the indigenous people, to Colombian, to Brazilian people, to women, to men, for talking about that idea that maybe is promoted in the social medias around the contest, those stereotypes, and maybe, yeah, what could make in order to contrast that information. Maybe that is something. What happened here, as Professor Pedraza said, is so difficult to fight against Caracol, for example, in the narco novelas, those kind of things. It's so difficult. Oh, it's so difficult to contrast that information. For example, when people said, nah, the death of the president, the president of IT, it was dead, yeah, and something like that, murder, and maybe a Colombian person was involved in. Or maybe it's difficult to contrast that corruption's issues, yes, when we, I don't know, it is difficult to contrast that just because I give to my students the possibility to talk about. No, we need, as Professor said, also we need to be aware that maybe in those political scenarios, we need to choose in a critical way the person. We need to start to transform our realities. We need to read our context. We need to read critically our context, to add, to identify, to transform our realities. So that is like a kind of invitation, guys. Reading is a process that helps us to reshape, to transform our perceptions, our realities, and also give us the possibility of reading the world, and the world, as Paulo Freire said, in a different way. And that is my invitation. Don't stop, please. Let's continue reading and asking questions while you are reading, because that is the path.
And try not to forget what you read.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Guys, could we finish in this moment, Professor Pedraza, or maybe another question?
If there are no more questions, or if everyone has any other comment, this is the time. If not, thank you very much for your assistance. I hope that all the information that Professor Edison Castrillón gave us will be useful, not only in your academic life, but also in your professional and personal life. So, Professor Edison, thank you very much for everything
Professor.
that you have taught us before. Today, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Guys, thank you very much for coming. You have an excellent weekend.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Teachers, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you, Edison.
Hola, qué pena. Es que a mí nunca me dejó registrar la asistencia. Pues me metí desde el correo institucional, cerré todos mis correos y no me deja, me dejó hacer como